So the latest Black Ops 6 Zombies map, Citadelle Des Morts, has recently released, and to me, this is easily the best map we've had in Zombies in over 5 years. Probably since the likes of Ancient Evil and further back 9 from Black Ops 4. Now when you look at this map at face value, it's quite easy to see why fans are all over it at the minute. Obviously you've got that castle aesthetic, which is very similar to the likes of Der Eisendrache, which is widely regarded as one of the best maps we've ever had. You've got the 4 elemental wonder weapons, you think again, Der Eisendrache, Origins, Ancient Evil, 3 incredible maps all have that similar wonder weapon system, and it's universally loved. When you combine that with an incredibly satisfying Easter egg and just Black Ops 6 as a game itself, which has obviously received a lot of positivity recently, you're almost an absolute shoo-in for a win. I think a really important aspect that's being really overlooked with Citadelle Des Morts is the actual layout and design of the map itself. Obviously, unlike Der Eisendrache, we're not just in a big castle. We have a surrounding village, we sort of work our way towards it. We progress with the map as we do with the story and everything else involved, the swords, etc. I feel like having this castle/village aesthetic with Citadelle Des Morts just adds a level of realism that we're sort of yet to see in Black Ops 6 Zombies. I know you could argue that you kind of have it in Liberty Falls with the actual sort of American town style, but let's be honest, Terminus, as great as it is, it's fucking batshit wild. There's loads of little islands, you're in like a prison essentially. It's not exactly real, you can't like root it to actual real life, whereas with this castle, you can. It's literally in France, the map is based off of an actual real life structure, which to me just grounds the mode and gives a little bit of depth to all the gameplay on it. Now when it comes to the gameplay, of course, the main thing that we need to discuss is the swords. To me, as wonder weapons, these are absolutely fantastic. As I mentioned, elemental wonder weapons are always an absolute gift, but I feel like these are unique enough to not be as sort of carbon copy-esque as what the bows were to the staffs. And I think a big part of that actually just comes down to the fact that these wonder weapons are melee weapons. Not only is this innovative of itself, but when it comes to Black Ops 6 specifically, obviously you don't have the ability to use mule kick, for example. You have a melee weapon as a third weapon slot readily available, so being able to use that to have the wonder weapon just provides the player the opportunity to be way more overpowered, because instead of having 2 overpowered guns, you now have 3, essentially. And speaking of the power of the swords, I've seen quite a lot of chatter online that people aren't actually happy and think that they're a little bit underpowered. Now, I haven't personally experienced this. I think it's just the fact that it's a melee weapon and you've got to get up in the zombies' faces quite a lot, which obviously is high risk, high reward. But I think they're absolutely brilliant. Realistically, I don't think any of them are that bad to craft. Don't get me wrong, some are definitely easier than others, but I feel like, objectively speaking, getting the swords is way easier than getting, say, the upgraded staffs on Origins. In terms of which sword is actually like the most meta or the best as such, to me, I think it is the Raven Sword or the Void Sword or whatever the community are calling it. It's just an absolute instant kill, fantastic weapon. That ultimate ability is essentially like a mini Gersh device or mini Casimir device, and it will just absorb every single zombie in your path, sort them out. The only issue with it is, to me, is it is a bitch to unlock in terms of the codes and the actual symbols involved in it. Luckily, Milo has us covered, let's be honest, we're all using a guide when we unlock this sword, but I can appreciate it's a bit of a pain having to use a guide every time to try and unlock the sword, right? I think when it comes to my least favourite, honestly, I don't think any of them are particularly bad, but I would have to say the lightning one. I don't know about you guys, but I have experienced it bugging out a couple of times when I've tried to get the actual lightning rods to drop from the zombies. But other than that, I think the main thing that goes against it is just the fact that its ultimate ability isn't actually instant killing, whereas all the other swords are. So if you get in a corner and you're kind of struggling, it's not necessarily going to get you out of that jam. And then when it comes to the fire and the light sword, or Solaris, or whatever the community are referring to them as, I think they're both really solid options. I do like the fire one in terms of that instant kill ability. I don't think it's particularly difficult to unlock either. Granted, neither is the light one, to be honest. They're both the easiest swords to craft, like without question. And when it comes to the light one, I particularly like the healing effect that it has when you pop that ultimate ability. Obviously, again, it wipes out all the zombies in your path, but you also actually get a boost in your health and armor as well, which for newer players is fantastic. And when it comes to newer players, I think having options for the not most overpowered, but definitely not the worst swords to be unlocked fairly simply in terms of their quests is important, because it enables newer players to buy into the actual quest itself. I mean, if you were to take a new player and get them to try and solve the Void quest immediately without looking up any guides, that's going to be a real pain in the arse for them and probably switch them off the game. but these easier ones have the ability to enable newer players to sort of enjoy the thrill of completing that quest and earning a good wonder weapon, and then maybe take the challenge elsewhere and try and get a better one. Obviously when directed mode comes into effect, all of this is a little bit redundant in terms of how difficult or easy it is to craft the swords, but at this point I think it's really cool that you have a good range of difficulty when it comes to unlocking the wonder weapons. Moving away from the wonder weapons, another area where this map just absolutely excels is the Easter egg. It is easily the best one that we've seen so far in Black Ops 6. Now I'll be completely honest with you, I suck at zombies and I haven't completed it yet, I'm sorry. However, from what I've seen and from what I've played so far, it is very enjoyable. Obviously a big part of it is just building all the swords, which you kind of want to do in the game anyway, to just actually get a feel for them and see how good they are and if you like them. And when you do actually complete each one, there is almost a level of fulfillment, as in, yes, I have virtually completed this map by having all of the things available to me, now let's continue on with the quest. I don't know, I just feel like it's a great way of keeping the player engaged by purely doing things that you'd probably like to do in the map anyway, but they are also actually required for the Easter egg. And speaking of the Easter egg itself, I've honestly found it so fun. To me, it really feels like a proper classic Easter egg like what we'd see in the likes of a Black Ops 2 or Black Ops 3. Like, I've sat here like making notes with codes and symbols and orders and all of these things, which are just classic elements of a zombies Easter egg. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy Liberty Falls for its Easter egg. I think it's like very simple fun, and Terminus was great in terms of the boss fight. However, the other steps were just kind of a bit to me. However, speaking of boss fights, from what I've seen, Citadelle Des Morts is easily as good. The area the fight takes place in is just fantastic, and I really love the fact that when you actually spawn into the map, you are looking straight at the enemy that you are going to beat in the boss fight. It's just a little bit of foreshadowing, which is very subtle, but it's just cool if you're sort of an astute player and you know that you're going to complete this task. This map did obviously release with some other new elements as well, one of which being the return of an absolute classic perk in Vulture Aid. Now, I made a video on this earlier on saying how I hope that they would bring it back, and luckily for me they have, and they have actually upgraded it in the way that I wanted them to, with a little augment being involved that will allow you to earn more salvage as you get kills with the zombies. All in all, I do think it's a very useful perk. I don't think it's crucial, but saying that, I don't think there's really such a thing as a crucial perk in Black Ops 6 Zombies anymore, just because you can buy them all anyway, there's no limit as such, so it's just a lovely addition to have it back in the game for me. The only thing I really don't like is the new colour scheme. I think it looks really stupid, but I do like the perk machine itself and how it'll actually like peck at zombies. I think that's very cool. And sticking with the topic of perks, I actually really like the fact that it feels like Melee Macchiato actually finally has its place in the sandbox. Obviously, given the elemental sword wonder weapons that you use, Melee Macchiato is a melee weapon based perk, right? So all of its abilities are now way more useful in the sandbox. Not to mention you can get that vampiric action, which is essentially every time you kill somebody you get 25% or 25 health points back, which honestly is essential when you're basically charging in at zombies with a sword, right? They're gonna hit you, you need to start replenishing your health while you're doing it. Another thing I really love about this map is the introduction of incantations. Now, these are obviously attached to the swords themselves, but I love the fact that you can now have a tactical ability, which to me is actually useful because there isn't many of them in the game. I know they're not overpowered or anything like that, and they will probably hit a peak in terms of their use if you get to really, really high rounds, but they're easily replenishable, and it just makes the actual slot more viable. It's almost like a little add-on for doing the sword, right? You do a nice little bonus quest, you get a little incantation on the side. It's just refreshing to me. And once again, I think all were pretty good, but for me, the fireball one that you get obviously with the dragon sword is by far the best. Citadelle Des Morts has also introduced a brand new zombie type, that being the Doppelgast. Now, to me, this is great for a variety of reasons. One of which being A, we're not getting a shit ton of mangler spam like we were in the other two maps, and B, when it comes to that camo grind, if people are still doing it, these guys are weak as shit, so you can easily get sort of 10 to 15 eliminations on these special zombies without even really trying. So if you're going for like your opal camo, for example, that is something that is way more viable in this map. I know there's obviously the directed mode strat, which people have definitely been using, myself included, but it's just another way of almost varying up the camo grind itself, which obviously isn't a bad thing. And a little side note, I really like the zombies that drop the stamps, the actual night ones that had the immune headgear. When I first came up against those, it really threw me off, but I just thought that was a nice little way to sort of, again, progress the map. Show, oh, there's a slightly special enemy here, what's he going to do? Oh, he plays a divining role in actually acquiring the wonder weapon. It's just little things like that which really make zombies maps for me. So when it comes to Citadelle Des Morts, to me this is without doubt the best bit of content we've got so far in Black Ops 6 Zombies. Not only is the map itself just fantastic, but the wonder weapons are brilliant. Again, that elemental variety just offers so much gameplay differentials for the player. You can have a match where you only use the lightning sword, you can have a match where you only use the raven sword. It just provides you with such variety, which again you can't complain at in a mode like this. I think the Easter egg itself is hands down one of the best ones we've had in a long time as well. Again, Treyarch obviously loved this boss fight theme, and this is nothing short of one of the better ones we've seen. There's an element of challenge to it, which again I really like. Don't get me wrong, I don't think this map is like top 5 or anything quite like that, but it is without doubt one of the best maps we've seen in a very long time. And if I was to put it on, say, like a tier list, I would argue it's teetering on that A to S tier. But more importantly than that, what do you guys think? Have you guys been enjoying Citadelle Des Morts? Do you think it's as good as people are saying it is, like myself, or do you think it's a little bit overhyped? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you are new here and you have enjoyed the video, please do consider subscribing. It does mean the absolute world. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Hope to see you in another video sometime soon.